Fortunately, in this particular area, there was a group that came through a couple times years ago, and they cut down most of the big stuff, but at this edge here, there was some big buckthorn that we started to encounter. There wasn't a lot in this area here, that even though it was pretty much a war zone, it was just packed full of buckthorn. It was converting back to a wasteland. We've been able to take it back and make a big impact on that. However, there were a few big ones that we did have to address. This one here, there's two of them, and they're pretty good size. They look like 25, 30 feet tall. Yeah, they're all like dried up right now. It took about 2 weeks for them to fully die. And these were both seeders. They both had quite a few seeds on them. And what we did is we girdled them. And that's the only way to really deal with it. And just cut around it and deal with it. Right now the top's completely dead and the bottom's not showing any growth. So we'll monitor it, but I think it's dead. And in this particular instance, a lot of people will ask, like, well, it was seeding, what's going to happen with those seeds? Well, there's two things. First of all, this thing's been seeding for years. It will no longer seed, the both of them. And I am of the belief that there's really not a whole lot of energy in that woody stem to really mature the seeds past a certain point. So they haven't matured. It's going to be a tough time to actually mature, and they might just drop when they're green. So this one is going to be done for us, which is a big victory. And one of the reasons for girdling this, like, that's a lot of debris. You drop this thing, you got to find a home for it, and just a lot of extra work. And our main focus is we're going to kill the things, and that's the goal, just to kill it. And if you can chop them to the ground, that's one thing, but when you've got trees that big, it's pretty hard to do. The only real negative right now is from this point down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet upstream from this river, there's not a whole lot of big buckthorn. They did get them previously, the groups that were active in here, which is extremely fortunate. However, when we start going into this area here, down here, we're talking 400, 500, 600 feet downstream from right here, and there's hundreds of these big ones, hundreds. And this one, they're big, but there's bigger ones. Some are 8 inches in diameter, 10, and it's a lot quicker just to girdle them and be done with them. Sometimes there's people that do like hack and squirt, they chop it. I've never done that stuff. I just think a girdle them is a lot more effective, unless you don't have the tools to do so. Just you could take a little axe and squirt into it. That'll probably kill it in the fall, but we don't have to worry about the seed production anymore, as that's the main goal. And as you can see, that ridge line right there, that's packed full of pretty good sized ones. We didn't get to them. It's just a lot of energy and work. So we will get to, that's going to be the next step, is opening up some of these bigger ones and chopping them down. And yeah, it looks like there's a big one right there that needs to be chopped down. Oh, that's a black cherry. Actually, there's a musclewood right in front of it. That's beautiful. And looking through here, there's a few big ones. But this area has been very well addressed. Yeah, there's one pretty good large size one right here that is packed with berries. That thing is just packed with berries, and that thing has to be taken care of as quickly as possible. That's one that we'll probably just chop to the ground. It's only a couple inches. We can deal with that and let it go from there. But you just got to keep at these things. And this is one big one that we chopped down just recently. Just let it drop. It's a pretty good sized one. I don't see any berries on it, but yeah, there are some berries on it. They're dry. Yeah, so after a while, you can kind of see like the berry does dry up. And take a look at it, see what it did. I don't think it's going to be viable. It just dried up. Nah, I can't really see it too much. But yeah, it looks like it did just dry it up. There's yeah, there's nothing to it. So if you get these things early, yeah, you don't have to worry about the seeds that are on the tree itself. I don't believe it's just when they get to be matured. Once they start turning purple, I think that's when you got the issue. So yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of work to be done in this area as far as these big ones, and in some cases they're just wastelands. It's completely choked out after you clean them out. So yeah, there's some nice stuff in here. Nanny berries, lindens, black cherry. Yeah, yeah, that one's packed full of berries. So yeah, the girdling is a good approach to some of these big ones, because if you're volunteers, your goal should be to kill as many invasive plants as possible, not spend a lot of time on trying to give them a proper burial. In some cases they create such big piles that that's a negative too. So if you can just girdle them and let them go, and maybe down the road, if you have time or the people to do it, you could pile them up, cut them down. But for the most part, I think over a period of time, they'll just rot and probably give you some food for birds. So woodpeckers will come in there and start getting the larva that's underneath the bark. And this is one example. This is a big one. We just chopped the top off of this thing last year. It's starting to kind of leaf out quite a bit. And we'll get to that in the next few weeks. Might even do it this week. But what happened there is, like, this thing just canopied this whole area right here. And there was another one right there that was doing the same thing. So we did take back this ground here. And yeah, this thing's starting to really flush out. Actually, it's not a buckthorn. That's really a nanny berry that's flushing very well. So that'll replace this pretty quickly. And but yeah, we did that. We didn't have much time. You chop the top off, you stop the seed production, you open up the light to the ground, you can get the natural structure established, and then come back. Ideally, you want to cut them all down when you can, but when you only have a handful of folks and you just want to really make a big impact, sometimes it's decapitation works. If you're not going to do it, as far as coming back, don't do it. So in this area, yeah, there's a lot of real progress. I've seen a lot of really cool birds down in here. There's a lot of diversity in this particular park area that's going to be developed. And unfortunately, there are some areas that were so thick with buckthorn that it's been choked out underneath completely. There's some stuff coming back, but it's really not very diverse. It's the same usual plants that have been able to survive barely underneath that canopy, some little seedlings and things of that nature. So there'll be some structure coming back, but hopefully we can do something to create more biodiversity in the choked out areas.